Well, there you have it. That's the big question. What does Karnataka have in store from Union Budget 2020? We've seen industrial areas like Pina really shut down. In fact, we have a new guest in the house in the form of R.S. Deshpande, noted economist and former director of ISEC. Mr. Deshpande, if you'd like to really throw light on what's in it for Karnataka. Again, we're talking about industrial areas like Pina shutting down, flood relief not reaching the common man. In fact, the iconic snub that Prime Minister Modi gave to B.S. Yediyurappa when he was here, that apart, you also have controversial railway lines passing through Bandipur forest. And of course, the startup capital. What does it need, and what has Budget 2019 looked like for Karnataka, and what's needed on the ground going forward?
Basically, Karnataka requires good support for the MSME. MSME support is essential for one reason, that if you want employment, it's employment creator.
Right.
And right now, this happens to be in both center and state domain. It's not just the center which has to do supporting MSME, but the state also has to do it. Second thing, which is railways as such, there is one more thing, that in railways, whatever the employment has to be created in Karnataka is not as much as it was to be. Unfortunately, you have been slowed on creation of employment in railways in the southern India, totally in southern India. Karnataka is one of them. The third thing, which is quite an important, and which I attended, and in fact I had quit the meeting of the interaction with the 15th Finance Commission NKC. I got up and went, because the way we are arguing for the share from the center was so docile and so bad that our arguments may not lead to a great advantage to Karnataka. In fact, there exactly the argument should have been on the criteria of delineation, the criteria of how the Finance Commission allocates the fund. If it is taken on the collection, we have. If it is taken on the development, we have. And fortunately, I read recently that our Chief Secretary has put a note expressing his concern about Karnataka's ranking by the Niti Aayog. Niti Aayog was established because Planning Commission was absolutely incapable of doing what they wanted to do or what they were assigned to do. And that was Chibar Commission, which said that you are not able to do what you are assigned to do, then why have such a big paraphernalia? Close it down, shut it down, and it was shut down. Now, Niti Aayog also comes to that level, in the sense that Niti Aayog gives kind of reports as in academics, and they are my friends, both. I mean, the deputy chairman as well as the persons who write, all of them are either my colleague, friends, co-authors, or somewhere or the other connected with me. But I don't know what happens when person sits in the government portal, whether the rays which come in the Niti Aayog and Planning Commission are the rays which spoil their logical statements. For example, the doubling of the farmers' income, it's there on the Niti Aayog website. The way it has been argued by the Niti Aayog is something which is ridiculous. Everything will increase by 30% and the income will double. This is, as an agriculture economist, forget about agriculture economist. As an economist, I feel it is ridiculous. Everything increased by 30% and the aggregate doubles. No, aggregate will also go by 30%. It will not go double. The problem with the economy today is not the dead end. Unfortunately, the issue which is made out by many, and obviously for various reasons, that we have reached the dead end of the economy. There is nothing can be done. Tina argument. There is no alternative. Though every road is closed. No, every road is not closed. Possibly because we do not read in the figures, and I find very happy that the chartered accountant is on my side. You see the revenue efforts. The revenue efforts during last 18-19 and 19-20 budget estimate. Let me see the revised estimate. Now, in 18-19 it was 17 lakh crores. Now, 19 it is pegged at 19, which means about 2 lakh crores higher. If we are able to get above 2 lakh crores revenue efforts, possibly we will be able to do better. But
No,
then,
but you're staring at a deficit of 2 lakh crores. That's what at least the media is saying. That thanks to the handout, Mr. Kincha is there. Welcome, Mr. Kincha. The question is, the handout has happened in the month of September, 1.5 lakh crores. The big question is, where is the money? I want to pose this question to Mr. Kincha and Mr. Sridhar. Because remember, post demonetization, you had a situation where the number of tax returns which were filed rose spectacularly high. There was expectation that, look, India is now going to see more tax compliance. 2 or 3 years down the line, you're seeing a situation where we are all cribbing and saying that, boss, enough money is not being collected by the tax authorities. So where exactly is the problem, Mr. Kincha?
To me, the answer to this will have to go back to a certain geopolitical development that happened. Between US and China, we had a huge amount of trade tensions. This possibly led the government of India to believe that if there is going to be some movement of trade out of China, because US is not agreeable to and imposing a lot of protectionism in terms of the exports trade with China, they thought it was opportune time for India to ensure that some opportunities moving out of China should fall where India could be a destination. Therefore, they said, if you were to come into this country to start manufacturing here, make in India, made in India, we will therefore give you an incentive of having one of the lowest corporate taxes in the world. The question therefore is not of an immediate loss of tax. It's a question of a dynamism, a change dynamically into India's fold. If there were some movements out of China, they thought India could be the best destination.
But Mr. Kincha, if I could interrupt you right there.
Yes.
Are we a conducive atmosphere for
So therefore,
investments?
how is government therefore projecting
because
itself
with
now?
numbers themselves not throwing a good light, would a foreign player think of India as a good destination for investments from a layman's perspective?
The way India is projecting itself is now making a statement, look at the ease of doing business in this country, how India has progressed very wonderfully up. And the government is making a statement that we will continue doing it in a situation where the perception globally to say that India is a good country, there is an ease of doing business here, we will try and take advantage of that, move up and up. This is the issue. Now the question therefore is, are the fundamentals underlying that, supporting it? There could be difficulties in terms of infrastructure, there could be difficulties in terms of the regulatory environment, there could be difficulties in terms of the tax environment,
for example, the
tax
aviation
terrorism,
sector.
harassments. The judicial system is broken to that extent. So the question therefore is...
You'll have to come on that particular question.
In fact, Roopshi also had a quick
was
point.
saying, you know, close to about $40 billion is stuck in terms of
Correct.
litigation.
So
Mr.
how do you
Sridhar,
free that?
How do you get that money?
and
40
ensure
billion
it is
is
used
not
for the economy.
It's not small amount of money. $40 billion is humongous amount of money.
I agree. Sorry.
Please go
if
ahead,
I may.
Ruchi.
I agree with Mr. Kincha. It's very interesting that the China Daily, now universally or at least in the international level, we believe that China Daily does not completely give a fair and balanced view of data. But it's rather an embarrassment that the way their op-eds work in China Daily is that when they talk about India, they say it with this sense of confidence that India could not possibly compete with China's level of economic growth and the power that it holds because of our lack of infrastructure and a sheer lack of it. The whole problem is arising because whether it comes to the regulatory authorities or whether it comes to the business, you don't have a grassroots development.
If a 1,000-bed hospital for coronavirus can be set up in 12 days' time.
12 days.